Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on The Flash Season 7. So one of the big things that a lot of people think of that watch not just The Flash, but I guess all comic book TV and even just other genre TV is the upcoming seasons of their favourite shows and who the main antagonist or simply the villain will be for that upcoming season. Now with The Flash, that is definitely something we are always thinking of, even thinking about it before the previous season has even ended. Like the amount of comments I saw stating who they thought the villain would be for next season, or just even people asking me what my thoughts were, was just crazy. And I'm not saying that in a bad way, but just in a way that shows how many people are thinking about it, which is just, yeah, it's just crazy. Now, as I said, it's something that usually happens with The Flash heading into every new season, but with The Flash Season 6 specifically, like last season, that wasn't the case. And of course, that was due to Crisis. Like the cliffhanger that we got at the end of Season 5 leading into Season 6 was Crisis related, and all the build-up, all the interviews, and even the trailer for the season was associated around the upcoming Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover. Sure, there was blood work involved there and pro material and stuff like that, but at that stage, I don't think any of us, except for of course those involved with the show, knew the blood work would even have as much focus as he did end up having and even just be the first half villain. But of course, from going from Season 3 into Season 4, we knew that DeVoe or the Thinker was the villain before Season 3 even ended, because they pretty much said it, I think, twice towards the end of Season 3, so it's like, well, of course, that's going to happen next season. And heading from Season 4 into Season 5, we knew that Cicada would be the villain. Of course, some of you actually remember I actually revealed what was meant to be the end credit for Season 4, so it was like Cicada walking into a room, dropping his dagger and seeing like the Flash on TV or like a news report on the Flash. But instead, they actually removed that and put it in the trailer for Season 5 at Comic-Con, and that's why that scene in the trailer doesn't really correlate with what we see in Season 5, because they decided to change their, I guess, their take on it. It was similar, but a bit different, just regards to what we see in Season 5. But in this video, we're going to be going over a potential villain for Season 7. Sure, it's not the villain I personally want to see as my number one, but if it was a villain that did make it, or make its way onto the show, I wouldn't be complaining, because I think it'd be fairly interesting. But of course, throughout the video, be sure to let me know your various thoughts, opinions, theories. If you want to add anything, let me know all that in the comment section down below. Do you like the idea of this villain coming in? I think most of you would like it, because it's similar to a villain that some of you do like. But yeah, I'm just interested to see what you guys would say. And if you want another villain, let me know in the comment section down as well. And I might do a villain on that villain I might do a video on that villain if it sounds interesting enough. And of course, if you're going to enjoy the video, it would be awesome if you could drop a like and it shows support, especially during this time. It takes 2 seconds. So as most of you would know, or just remember in general, we had Godspeed show up this season for 2 episodes, where once again, or in both cases, it was a clone. But he, of course, in the second time he shows up, he refers to a quote-unquote we in regards to taking speed and all of that. And when this was said, this just, I guess you could say, revved up the theory engines as to what that exactly meant, and whether it was referring to, say, the proper Godspeed, whether it be the one in the future that we saw last season, or one that now exists in present day that is a thing maybe due to Crisis or something like that. Or if it was a completely different entity that was connected to another storyline that was coming. And even though I would love to see, say, like Cobra Blue as a villain for next season, he's my number one pick to be the villain, there is a chance that the Godspeed stuff could be connected to a villain from DC Rebirth, which Eric Wallace, the showrunner for The Flash, has heavily been leaning on for Season 6, and what looks like to be Season 7 as well. And that villain is that of Raijin, or Raijin, however you want to pronounce it. I'm going to go Raijin because it sounds better with my voice. Now, as you should be able to tell from the title of this video, Raijin is otherwise known as the God of Lightning, even though it needs to be stressed, I guess you could say. In the context of the comics, he actually sort of gives himself that name, so a bit of arrogance there. However, in Japanese myth and lore, or just mythology in general, or whatever you want to call it, Raijin is the name of the God of Lightning. So you are heading into sort of like Savitar sort of territory in regards to certain threats and villains like naming themselves after like already existing gods or similar powerful figures. And that won't be the last thing we bring up in regards to similarities to Savitar in this video. Even though it should be obvious like what one of them will be that we'll bring up soon. But anyway, in DC Rebirth, we are led to believe that Raijin was the figure that was behind the big Speed Force storm that sort of kicked off the whole Flash thing in DC Rebirth that we saw right at the beginning of that run, that created a plethora, heaps of new speedsters, which the Flash himself had to train, which of course included Godspeed himself. And we also learned that he is the leader of the organization known as, yep, that's right, Blackhole. And he's also after the ability to control the Speed Force, which if you think about it, could easily tie into next season, especially with Barry trying to, either create a new artificial Speed Force, based off what Reverse Flash did, or just repair the original one that was, broken, which technically shouldn't be there, but I think they'll figure out a way to make it that it's still like a slither of it is still there. Which Eric Wallace, the showrunner, has said are both possibilities. Like a new Speed Force being created isn't the only option for Barry and I guess the rest of Team Flash. Now, while there is still a decent amount about this character that we don't really know about, and I'm being completely transparent here, I'm still about 6 issues behind with where the comics are at the moment, so I have no real idea if he has shown up again in those issues and revealed new information. But from what we know, like Raijin wears this like armor, which along with this has the ability to manipulate electricity. So it's otherwise, I guess you could call it electrokinesis. Or just controlling electricity, whatever you want to call it. And this electricity is drawn from the Speed Force. Now, it is important to note, even though he might give off a certain vibe that he would be a speedster, like you look at him, he's got lightning around him, hey, he's a speedster. He actually isn't. But Raijin, through his powers, has the ability to travel through bolts of lightning, which does seem like it would be insane to see in live action. And due to this, he pretty much ends up being as fast as the Flash, if not, in some cases, faster, which once again is almost like Savitar in early season 3, where he wasn't really running around because he was trapped in the Speed Force. He was like popping in and out of the Speed Force, which made him seem ridiculously fast. And that's because he actually wasn't running. He was sort of like popping in and out. So it seemed like he was just super, super fast. And of course, while we are on the topic of Savitar, the two look super similar, with like Raijin having like a black hole logo rather than a lightning bolt and a different shaped head. Like, they look similar. Now, Raijin did appear after Savitar showed up on TV, so I don't know if there was meant to be similarities or, I don't know, a bit of copying. I don't know. Who knows? I guess the artist would know, maybe the writer, so ask them, I guess. Now, while we have no real clue who is like masquerading around as this supposed god of lightning known as Raijin, they could easily be behind the Godspeed doubles that we have seen in both episode 1 and episode 18 of season 6, and even going for a different identity for who the comics eventually goes with, if they even do give him one there. Like Savitar in the comics, you see who he is, but he doesn't have a name or anything like that, so they might not even do that in the comics. They might keep him like anonymous. Now, from what it appears, the Godspeed clones aren't necessarily robots. At least it doesn't appear to be that way, but they are like weird clones, as we saw the blood from one of them in episode 18. But then the Godspeed from that episode seems to actually like have to kill the other clones in the Iron Heights rather than someone switching them off remotely, which you would think would be the case unless they were just being kept there to steal their speed later on. Like, who knows, I guess. But there is a chance they are hybrids of sorts, which would allow Raijin to program them in a certain way to then target the Flash and then also devolve, I guess that's a word you could use, to the point we see them in the show where they just end up like screaming random sounds or screeching, whatever you want to call it. And the mention of, you know, quote unquote we by the last Godspeed clone indicates larger forces at play, which make me think personally it wouldn't be the proper Godspeed we saw last season that is behind all of this. Like, it doesn't seem he would be doing anything along this route. If anything, he might be a victim of whatever Raijin could potentially be doing. Maybe Raijin's locked up. Not Raijin, sorry. The original Godspeed is locked up by Raijin, and Raijin's using clones of him. Who knows? But one thing I've only mentioned in passing is Raijin's connection to Blackhole in the comics. He is the leader, and of course, in the Flash Season 6, well, the back half of it at least, Blackhole played a pretty big part with their mercenaries, Joseph Carver, and now even McCulloch pretty much taking over in regards to all of that. Now, I've been saying for a while, especially in those last like 5 episodes roughly of the season, that I didn't think Joseph Carver was the true person behind Blackhole, and he was more the face of Blackhole and I guess McCulloch Technologies and their operations. So depending on what happens with Eva, I could see the true leader coming out to play, especially when you throw in the fact that Barry has been working towards either making this new Speed Force or repairing the issues with the old one, which, to be honest, both sound like quite the task. But specifically on the Speed Force front, as the final thing in this video, is there a possibility that Raijin could be a factor in keeping the Speed Force alive? It sounds weird, but hear me out. Maybe him being around and still being someone with like access to the Speed Force is like a lifeline for the Speed Force. Like, sure, Barry is still feeling the impact of what happened in episode 14 with Wally and all of that. But while Raijin could be this threat that they need to take down, him trying to take control of it with him having some access to it could be a gateway or pathway, whatever you want to call it, for Barry, along with the help with Team Flash, to save it and not need to move on to this artificial Speed Force plan they are heading towards. While creating a new artificial Speed Force has its positives in regards to plot lines and plot holes, you are taking away the proper Speed Force from the show, which I know many are against. Not sure if it's the majority of viewers, but I know there are a decent amount that aren't in favor of it. I'm sort of in the middle. So Barry could kill two birds with one stone by taking down Raijin, but in turn saving the Speed Force by taking him down for not only himself, but all the other speedsters connected to it. Or should it be two time rates with one lightning bolt? Is that a good analogy? I don't know. Let me know. But overall, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like on it, show your support. It takes 2 seconds. What do you think of this? Would you like to see Raijin in next season of The Flash after the Mirror Master arc is ended, which should only be 3 episodes from what we're hearing? Yeah, let me know all your thoughts, theories, opinions, all of that in the comment section down below. Let me know. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. And yeah, I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.